I'm in Chicago, and this is the beautiful river shoreline. It's really spectacular. This is the Trump Tower, one of the iconic towers. So, say hello to Mr. Trump. And yeah, the beautiful neoclassical and Renaissance, whatever architecture styles, the beautiful European style architecture buildings, and all these buildings, iconic, really iconic. And then you have the Chicago Tribune, which is one of the main newspapers. And yeah, you see the amazing riverfront, and the old engineering, and those bridges, and the old engineering bridges, which reminds us of things like Eiffel Tower, those iron, wrought iron things, and then the spectacular row of buildings. Really here. So beautiful. It's really amazingly beautiful.
Uh,
Boat cruise towards Chicago River, the iconic river with the bridges, and now you see the Trump Tower. And Chicago has been the home of skyscrapers because the Som, which is the architect for the Burj Khalifa, is based out here. So this is a spectacular Chicago on the Chicago River. Trump Tower in Chicago. These buildings, they consist of both modern buildings and neoclassical or European style architecture buildings. And Chicago has been home to the kind of the skyscraper revolution because Skidmore, Robinson Merrill, which is a designer and architect of Burj Khalifa, is also based from here. It's an iconic place. I mean, we see the river tour was very iconic and very good. I mean, then we saw a lot of skyscrapers, and then amazing thing is some were built over rail tracks, some had, the water things, and, this Chicago River permanently flows backward. So it's all this is like, really an architectural wonder of the world.
Looking
I'm in Chicago, and we see the iconic Chicago River, the river line, and I see the Boeing headquarters as well. In my previous career, we used to deliver software solutions and mobile apps for airports, airlines, and aircraft, and so aviation industry, so to speak. It's so iconic to see the Boeing headquarters. Of course, Boeing has its plants in Seattle and Charleston, South Carolina, and also the iconic riverfront, and the iconic Union Station, and it's good to see. I mean, Chicago is the home of the skyscrapers, and then the designer and architect of Burj Khalifa is also from Chicago, Skidmore, Soviets and Merrill. So it's an iconic place on earth, and yeah, it's really spectacular. I mean, it's really cold, but still, yeah, so exciting to be looking at these buildings. I'm in Chicago, and this is the iconic Willis Tower, one of the skyscrapers in the city. Yesterday, I had been over this deck, and there is something known as a ledge in which, you just, you are offset of and it's a glass bottom, and it's really scary. They say it's 1.5 inches thick or something. I just stood on that. It was really scary. You're, just standing there. And this is the iconic Chicago skyline, with a lot of skyscrapers. It's, I think, called the home of skyscrapers or something, because the architect of Burj Khalifa, Skidmore, Soviets and Merrill, is also from Chicago. So yeah, it's a lot of skyscrapers, and also I did a river tour. It was fantastic and amazing. Yeah. I mean, Chicago and the iconic Chicago skyline. Chicago is famous for skyscrapers. They probably call it the original skyscraper capital or something. Even the architect designed of Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on earth, is from Chicago as well. And then we see this the riverfront. I'll be doing a tour later. It's spectacular again. And then this is for something known as the Navy Pier. There's a big giant wheel, and yesterday I've done that. And Children's Museum, and there was one this spectacular seeing flying over Chicago, something like that, and it was spectacular. Actually, it scared me a bit, but yeah, this is amazing Chicago, and yeah, it's really beautiful. It's wintry, yeah, the whole world. I'm in Chicago, and this is the Navy Pier and the big Ferris wheel, and the great town of the city of Chicago. Navy Pier. I've been through it. It is a spectacular view of the city skyline, and there we see the city skyline of Chicago. Chicago is known for the tall buildings, like the design of architect of Burj Khalifa, SOM architects is also from Chicago. So yeah, it's the huge skyline, and there is the Chicago River that permanently flows backwards, and the magnificent Chicago. This is Chicago, and this is the iconic loop in the Chicago. This is very iconic because I've been dying to see this for many years or decades. And we see the spectacular Chicago skyline, and how old this is. I mean, this kind of really fascinating. Much of the part is made of wood, and the iron, the old, kind of the Eiffel Tower kind of vibes, right? Those kind of, I don't know what they call, wrought iron or something. And the old, the ticket office, and everything is really, I don't know how to call it, nostalgic, iconic. Yeah. This is the iconic Chicago loop, and the train is coming. It loops, and then there are some separate spectacular view. That's the tower, CS tower, right?
Yep.
One of them, yeah. I have to
No, really don't.
What has a glass bottom? Oh man, it's truly spectacular.
I actually used to live down here about 4 years. Sure, 2 months.
Here's the rail. I'm in Chicago, the skyscrapers, and behind me is the Trump Tower. So, say hello to Mr. Trump. And then the iconic, you see the juxtaposition between the modern buildings and the old neoclassical buildings, the European style buildings that I love the most. And Chicago is also the home to the skyscrapers because many leading architects like Skidding Sovens Merrill, who's the designer of architect of Burj Khalifa, is based here. And so it's spectacular when you really see this, right? I mean, it's really Manhattan, yeah. So yeah, it's really
Yeah, I like